What makes a woman turn back at the brink of salvation? Lot's wife, an unnamed figure in the Bible, but one whose momentary glance sealed her fate, transforming her into a pillar of salt. Her story has captivated generations, raising a question that lingers to this day. Why did she look back? In this documentary, we look into the untold truths, analyzing ancient texts, uncovering hidden traditions, and delving into the deeper mysteries behind the woman known in some traditions as a Dew or Edith. Was it a longing for the life she left behind in Sodom, or something far more serious? Tighten your seatbelt as we reveal the startling reasons behind her fateful decision, a decision that changed everything. If you enjoyed this video and want to see more content like this, don't forget to subscribe and hit the notification bell. Your support helps us grow and brings you more amazing stories. As dusk settled over Sodom, two figures emerged from the shadows, angels, messengers of divine judgment. They arrived at Lot's home with a single, urgent message. Destruction was coming. The city of Sodom, with all its sin and corruption, was beyond saving. The command was clear: flee and do not look back. Genesis 19, verse 17. Even though the Bible does not detail Lot's wife's reaction, her feelings can be inferred through Jewish tradition. Jewish interpretations suggest that inside the home, not everyone welcomed these visitors. Lot's wife watched from the side, her eyes filled with weariness. Hospitality, a sacred duty in ancient Near Eastern culture, Genesis 18 verses 1-8, was not something she embraced. When Lot urged her to help prepare for the guests, her reluctance was evident. The angels were strangers, and to Lot's wife, they represented an unwelcome intrusion into her world. Her hesitation likely stemmed from a complex emotional terrain. The angels brought the promise of escape, but they also predicted the end of Sodom. Her home, her life, everything she knew. The thought of leaving it all behind was overwhelming, and even in the face of divine warning, her heart wavered. The Talmud, in Barakat 10a, suggests that her attachment to the sinful city may have been driven by a reluctance to abandon her former life. They spoke of urgent judgment and swift destruction, yet the command not to look back carried a heavy weight. For Lot's wife, the warning felt personal. Would she be able to abandon her past, her ties to Sodom, without a second thought? Or was there something in the city that still held her? For Lot's wife, the road out of Sodom was not just a path to safety. It was a journey away from everything she had ever known. As her family hurried to pack, her heart was heavy with indecision. She wasn't just fleeing a doomed city. She was leaving behind a lifetime of memories, friendships, and familiar faces. The city streets, now filled with impending judgment, had once been filled with laughter, community, and even love. The weight of her past bore down on her. How could she abandon her home, the house where her children grew up, the neighbors she once confided in, and the friends whose fates were now sealed? This deep emotional conflict reflects the struggle expressed in the writings of many scholars, who highlight the complex nature of familial bonds in times of crisis. Talmud, Sanhedrin 108b. Each step away from Sodom pulled at her soul like a tether, binding her to the life she was about to lose. It wasn't just a city crumbling behind her. It was her entire world. The decision to run was not a simple one. Every fiber of her being fought against the idea of leaving, of letting go. Her past was too much to leave without a glance back. This internal battle resonates with the biblical theme of attachment to one's homeland and the painful process of leaving it behind, as seen in other narratives throughout the scriptures. Genesis 12, verse 1. Lot's wife wasn't running from Sodom. She was being torn away, her heart still bound to the life she had built. In the chaos of escape, her internal struggle grew louder. Would she be able to let go? Or would her heart's longing compel her to risk everything for one final look at the life she had left behind? This longing is mirrored in the teachings found in Jewish texts, which often emphasize the emotional turmoil associated with exile. Midrash Rabbah, Genesis 41, verse 2. As Sodom crumbled behind them, engulfed in flames and chaos, Lot's wife stood frozen in a moment of extreme conflict. With each step her family took towards safety, she felt an unrelenting pull to the life she was leaving behind. In that critical instant, she made a fateful decision. She turned to look back at the burning city. This key moment captures the essence of her struggle, reminding us that sometimes the hardest battles are fought within ourselves. What compelled her to glance back? Was it fear? The sudden realization that everything she had ever known was being consumed by fire? Or was it the weight of emotional attachment? The memories of friends and family that flooded her mind like a tidal wave? Perhaps it was worrying for her daughters, left behind in a city teetering on the brink of destruction, their fate uncertain as chaos unfolded around them. This deep concern reflects a theme of familial bonds, often emphasized in Scripture, highlighting the emotional struggle faced by those who must leave loved ones behind. Jewish interpretations provide insight into this pivotal moment. Some suggest that her glance was rooted in a deep-seated longing for Sodom's sinful allure, an unquenchable desire for the very life she was commanded to leave. In her heart, the city's vibrancy, its excitement, and its transgressions held a captivating charm, one that was hard to forsake. This notion resonates with the teachings in the Talmud, where the allure of sin is often depicted as a powerful force, drawing individuals back to destructive habits. Talmud, Barakat 63a. Others argue that her act of looking back was an expression of regret. By defying the angel's command, she symbolized the internal struggle many face when confronting change. Clinging to what is familiar, even when it is harmful, the desire to hold on to her past outweighed the fear of what lay ahead. This reflects the universal theme found in many religious texts, where the challenge of letting go of the past is a recurring struggle faced by humanity. Ecclesiastes 3 verses 1-8. In that split second, she was caught between two worlds. The sinful city she had called home and the unknown path towards salvation. But that moment of hesitation would come at a cost she could not foresee. As she turned, her heartache and attachment sealed her fate, transforming her into a pillar of salt. Genesis 19, verse 26, a stark reminder of the consequences of looking back. For that one final glance, Lot's wife faced an unimaginable consequence. She became an eternal testament to the complexities of human emotion. This transformation echoes the warnings found in the scriptures about the dangers of disobedience and the heavy price of divided loyalties. Luke 17, verse 32. This pillar of salt serves not only as a punishment for her disobedience, but also as a memorial to her divided loyalties. In her moment of weakness, she betrayed the divine command to forsake Sodom, her heart still tethered to the city's allure. The salt, once a staple of hospitality and preservation, now represented her inability to fully embrace the future. This reflects the teachings in Jewish tradition about the importance of loyalty to God's commands, Mishnah, Avat 1:14. The transformation into salt symbolizes the bitterness of her choice, the salt of sorrow, reminding those who pass by the consequences that arise from a divided heart. It speaks to the struggle between attachment to the past and the necessity of moving forward, an internal conflict that resonates deeply within the human experience. Proverbs 4 verse 23. For centuries, religious scholars and historians have engaged in profound debates over the true significance of Lot's wife's final act. Yet, the narrative surrounding Lot's wife is not solely one of punishment. Some interpretations look into her motivations, suggesting that her glance back was driven by concern for her daughters. This perspective adds a layer of complexity to her character, portraying her not merely as a figure of disobedience, but as a mother torn between loyalty to her family and the call to escape. Genesis 19 verses 15 to 16. In this light, Lot's wife becomes a multifaceted character, representing the struggle between love and fear. Her story has become part of the landscape. The natural salt formations near the Dead Sea are often called Lot's wife. Genesis 19 verse 26, believed to be the remains of her tragic fate. These tall salt pillars stand as a warning for all who see them. Legend says these formations were once a woman, a mother and a wife, who looked back at her city and paid a heavy price. Tourists come to these sites, drawn by history and the haunting tale of Lot's wife, capturing the link between faith and geography. For centuries, many have connected these salt pillars to the biblical story, sparking curiosity and discussion among people. Lot's wife challenges us to think about our own lives. Are we clinging to things that hold us back? Are we brave enough to face the unknown? Or do we find ourselves looking back, unsure of what to leave behind? Her tale serves as a reminder that moving forward often requires letting go, even when it's difficult. In the end, her gaze back towards Sodom serves as a universal lesson for us all. It speaks to our struggles with attachment, our fears of change, and the weight of our choices. Lot's wife may have become a pillar of salt, but her story continues to stand tall, urging us to embrace our futures while acknowledging the past. Let us remember her journey as we navigate our own paths, always mindful of what we choose to hold on to and what we must release to move forward. Thank you for watching. If you found this video helpful, please subscribe and give it a thumbs up. Your support inspires us to keep creating amazing content. We can't wait to see you in the next one.